Hello and welcome. Tonight I've got some very important information that I'd like to share with you in the next few minutes, that if you take and implement in the next few months, you will end up with great results that will more than overcome the efforts. So first of all, I'd like to start with introducing what this webinar is about. And we're going to be organizing 3 points. We're going to talk about 3 points. And only 3 points. We'll talk about beliefs and understanding. Then we'll talk about interest rates and taxes, and also how we get here. So if I could show you a way that you can pay your mortgage within 5 years, you can reduce your taxes by at least 30%, and you can have 5 investment properties within 10 years. If I could show you how to do that, would you give it a go? I hope the answer is yes. So I'm going to go and get straight into it and show you how we're going to do this. So about Landmark, about the company, a little bit. We've been around doing this work now since 1996. So it's 27 years in the industry, in the business. We've made countless and thousands of people very, very wealthy using this strategy. And I would like to now share it with you as well, so that you know how you can place yourself in a better position coming in the next 12 months to 5 and 10 years. So we say to people that we need to look at everything before we play, because if we don't look at everything, what we're doing is we're looking at only certain things and we are reducing our chances. So the first one I'd like to talk with you about is called belief, right? And believe that you are limitless, that you are got all the power within you to achieve anything you want in your life. Because if you don't believe that you can do it, you will not do it. It starts from there. Now, to do this, I want to illustrate this with a very wonderful story that I know from the Indian culture. And this is about a man that walks into paradise. The man walks into paradise, and as he walks and sees this beautiful, wonderful place with beautiful trees, mountains, rivers, and he's walking around and he becomes a little bit tired. And then he thinks, oh, I'm a little bit tired now. And all of a sudden he finds this cushy grass and a beautiful, wonderful tree. So it sits on the grass and he's relaxing there in the grass. And as he's sitting there, and after had a big walk around paradise, he thinks, I'm getting a little bit hungry. And as he thinks that, all the food comes. All the wonderful food he's always had comes to him. And as he thinks, oh, this is quite nice. Now that I've eaten my food, I feel a little bit thirsty. So then all this drink comes, all the different drinks and cocktails and things come to him. So he had a few drinks and then he thinks, I'm feeling a little bit sleepy, so I might go to sleep. So he went to sleep. So after a while, he wakes up and he thinks, oh, I'm wondering what's happened here. I think about food comes. I think about drink comes. I think about sleeping. I slept. I wonder if there's ghosts around here. And ghosts came. And as the ghost came, he started to panic and worry. He said, I wonder what they're going to do to me. Maybe they'll torture me and kill me. So the ghost came, tortured him, and he died. So the moral of the story is that what we think about most of the time comes to us. Good or bad, it will come to us. So this journey I'm going to share with you now is in regards to all these. Now I can share some other stories, and I will probably do some later down the track in this talk, but at the moment I think that kind of paints a picture as to what we are going to be talking about. So we become what we think about most of the time. So if you like to have your mortgage paid within 5 years, if you like to reduce your taxes by 30 to 50%, and if you like to retire within 10 years with 5 properties, you can do it only when you believe you can. Because if you don't believe you can, you won't do it. It all starts from that thought, right? So as I said earlier, who would like to get the mortgage paid quickly and all that, right? This is what we're going to be sharing with you at the moment. Okay, so these are most of the goals that most people have in their minds. And at the moment, as you know, with the interest rates going up, and today, luckily, the rates kind of stayed put for a while, right? People have been panicking because most people that have taken the lower rates and fixed the loans, at the moment, they're all coming out of the loans. Between now and December, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that will be coming off these fixed loans, and they're going to end up getting a cold shower, right? So for them, things will become a little bit tough. So as you know, this is the time that you either need to organize yourself and prepare, right? Hope for the best, hope that rates don't go up, but we need to prepare just in case they do continue to go up. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you now is some ideas so that you can think about the ideas, and eventually you'll have at least another point of view of how you can do things better, right? Because without ideas, right, and dreams mean nothing, because we are just basically a possibility. As you know, that's who we are really. So question here for you is, do you believe that if you don't know how something works, do you believe that that does not exist or cannot exist? Well, I hope the answer that you gave to that is no, that you do believe that if you don't know something, that you don't know that that exists, because it's true. So I'm going to share with you some of these ideas with you. So we cannot live beyond the limitations of our beliefs, because our beliefs are pretty much information. As you know, the information we receive become beliefs, right? And eventually what happens is, if you don't change the information, your beliefs will remain the same. So if you want to change your beliefs, you need to change the information. If you change the information, that means you must change the source, because the source being the same, the information will be exactly the same. So possibilities can only be found in the unknown, not in the known, because this is where we go into the area where it's a bit of we become fearful, because it'll be things that you'll have to do that are different. But that doesn't mean that they can't be done. It doesn't mean they have not been done. And everything else, the fear becomes normally just an irrational thought, because most fears, as you probably understand, never come to reality. So what we need to understand, that fear is just because we've never done something before. And because humans are very, very hard to change. I mean, most people know that the only happy human that likes change is a baby with a wet nappy. Everybody else doesn't like change. We just need to do the status quo. We need to do what we always used to do. But if you do what you did yesterday, you can also expect that you're going to get the same result as yesterday. So in order to get a different result, we also need to do something different. Okay. Now, first of all, this the second point is, how did we get here? How did we ended up in the situation we're in financially? I'm not saying that everyone's in a bad situation, but because we're here, because we want more, that means that you think about how to have more. So how did you end up where you ended up right now? First of all, is we need to understand this all through conditioning, like a subliminal conditioning, because we know that the masters of the money, the masters that control our lives, people that control the education system, the health system, the banking system, the food system, these are the same people. There's such a bunch of people, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people who control most of the money around the world and control governments and everybody else. Right? So we've been taught things when we first go to school. They teach us how to stay in line, wear uniforms, right? So they teach us about identity, right? Who we are, right? Who we are, by what we look, not who we are, but we truly are, because we're not people in uniforms. We're not, we've got different genders and that, but at the same time, we are spiritual beings. We're not just human beings, as per se the word, right? Because we're not our body, we're not our minds, we're not our identity, but we are spiritual beings. So how did we get here financially is because we've been conditioned to believe certain things, okay, that are convenient for the system. For instance, if you haven't worked out why do you have a 30-year mortgage, right? It's because all your friends have got it, all your relatives have got it, all the people you work with have got it, and that's what the bank's going to sell to you. That's what the broker's going to sell to you, right? Then you think about why do everyone has this kind of mortgage? Why does everyone have this kind of mortgage, right? And then you need to look at just the figures. When you look at the 4 biggest banks in Australia, okay, back in 1921, I think, or 22, they made $20 billion. Now, if you think about these, right, if that's a loan that they sell you, that's a loan that everyone has, it might have to do with something with that you've got the wrong loan. For you, it's the perfect loan for the bank, right? So you need to think about these things, right? Because if you don't do your logical thinking, right, then you're going to be following everybody else, right? And remember, you don't want to be a follower, you want to be a student. It means you want to learn how things work. So through the process of learning, go to school, go to university, we get our first job, we get married, and after that, we end up buying a house, and we end up getting what everyone else has, which is a 30-year loan. Right now, if you look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in the last 100 years, 1 person out of 100 becomes rich. 4 become financially independent, about 3 continue working, and the rest all depend on some kind of government, charity, or they depend on the family. And the reason is because we've followed everybody else. So if we follow what everybody else, we end up getting what everybody else does. And this is normally about 92% of the population, right? So what we're going to do here today is trying to take you across the other side of the railway tracks, which is trying to get you at least to become part of the 5% by just adopting the ideas I'm going to share with you here in details as to how you want to do this, how you can do this much better. All right, so here again, we show some kind of graphics about the 95% of the people, which are the followers. These are the people that end up with these 30-year principal interest loans. And the 1% group, which are the seekers and leaders, these people end up with a different loan, right? And I'll explain that loan in a minute. Okay, so as a result from this conditioning, like I said earlier, we end up with this interest and principal loan because it's paying interest and small principal, not like the way they make it sound that it's principal and interest, because that's how they want us to try and understand that we're paying the principal and the interest, but it's no such thing as that. You pay the interest and have very small principal. Like at the moment, if you say the interest as they go up, every time interest go up, that money that you have to pay extra, it's all interest, none of it is principal, right? So then we end up stuck in this situation where, we've got a 30-year incarceration versus what I'm talking about here, with 5 years you can get out, you can escape this jail sentence. Right? So it is about understanding there are ways to do things, and we used to use bank products, we use tax applications, nothing that we do, we invent, it's all there, hidden away amongst all the good things and all the bad things, and these things aren't discussed by banks or brokers because it's not what the banks want you to have, and that's why it's kind of a bit of a mystery when you try and approach banks for it. They'll tell you no, they just lie to you because banks, as you know, they lie, right? And that's why most people go to brokers, because they go and talk to a banker or staff from a bank, and they will tell us some story, where brokers can be a little bit more, truthful in things, and they will point the clients in the right direction. Now, third point is interest and taxes. Okay, so what is this about interest and taxes? Like I said earlier, banking, taxes, the two institutions that we spend at the moment about 64% of all our income. Now imagine that 64% of all our income goes to taxes and banks. Right? So about 25%, if that goes to maintain ourselves, right, and a little bit of money for savings, which now that's all gone to savings because that extra savings we used to have now go to pay the extra mortgage repayments because of interest rates. Okay, so here's a bit of a bar graph of what banks did back in 1921 in profits, $20 billion, I think it was the number, between 4 banks. And by the way, there's 62 banks operating in this country. So you can imagine how this works for us, okay, if it's working so much better for them, right? So how does your money travel from week to week as you earn it? And the way you're doing things right now, right, you work Monday, the whole Monday, nearly half through Tuesday for the tax office. Then you work the balance of the Tuesday and most of the day on Wednesday for the bank. And then the balance of Wednesday and all Thursday and a bit of Fridays for maintenance for yourself, or whatever, school fees, shopping, holidays, whatever you do. And then it's a bit of money in savings, and superannuation gets paid by your employer, which is a bit of a lifesaver for you. That was created back in around the early 90s by Paul Keating, the Prime Minister at the time, which now that has grown to something like $1.5 trillion, which is another topic that we'll talk about some other time, of how you can also use that to change the way your results can be. All right, so, and here, as you can see, is a graph here that talks about interest rate back in from 1960 up to 2020. In 1960, the rate was around 5%. And then it went all the way up by the same Prime Minister, Paul Keating, that decided to have an inflation we had to have, so that recession we had to have, and he put the rates up to 17%. And that's when I think half of the population lost their houses and half of the business went bankrupt. But he thought that was a good idea at the time. I don't know if he thought it was a good idea after that, but that's what happened. And from there, it went down, went up and down, but it ended up in 2020 to around about 4.8. and not in 2021, and that after the pandemic, right? The rates went around 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, right? And that's when some of you perhaps locked in for at 2%, 2.2%, right? Which is a great deal for you. But still, now that things are changing, you will be put into another 30-year loan for that normal rate, for the current rate. So the 30-year loan never changes the number of years, but it just changes the institution, because that's what you do. You refinance with another bank, right? And the 30 years begins again. They don't discount the years you've been with the previous bank. You need to know this, right? So for that, you end up with, a fairly hefty bill for interest to the bank. So for instance, here we have a person that owes $500,000 in a home loan, and paying, I put in here 5%. So this slide here, obviously, it's a few months old, right? Paying $2,800 a month. Okay, if you pay $2,800 a month at 8% for 30 years, you'll give the bank $1,008,000 in repayments, of which $508,000 is just interest, and of which, in order to pay the $1,008,000 in repayments, you have to earn $1.3 million, because you got to pay taxes so that you can pay your repayment to the bank. So you have to earn $1.3 million to pay $500,000 mortgage. Now that's a lot of money that you have booked in to earn to pay over 30 years. Now 30 years is a long time to pay one loan. Things can happen. You can lose your job, you can get sick and all that. So everything is a little bit uncertain in regards to all these things. So why wouldn't you want to find a way how to get out, or how to escape within 5 years? Because after 5 years means that you just work for you, not for the bank and not for the tax office. I mean, you probably still got to pay taxes, but then you can be investing, so taxes become less. Okay, so let's have a look at here how all this happens, so you understand, numbers. So this cash flow here, this is from one of the biggest banks, or this is the biggest bank in Australia, that talks about if you have a $500,000 mortgage at 5%, you'll give the bank $466,000 in interest over 30 years. However, the interesting part is if you look at what happens after 5 years, if you're paying the bank $2,600 a month over 5 years, that's average around about a $30,000 repayment, right? By 5 years, that's, to me, it's like $150,000. So if you gave the bank $150,000 in repayments, and you put the cursor after 5 years, which means you'll have 25 years remaining, you still owe the bank $458,000. So you've actually reduced the loan by $42,000, even though you gave the bank $150,000. So this is what is the so-called principal and interest loan, which is nothing like that. It's just basically all the interest and a bit of principal that you pay. Okay, and if the interest was 7%, well, that's even worse, because that becomes like a lot more than that, close to $200,000 you have to pay the bank, and you've only paid $30,000 over 5 years. So that becomes even more ridiculous, right? But this is where most people are with the way they borrow money from the bank. All right, so the idea is just trying to find out and help you understand a different way of doing things. So if we've got a $500,000 loan, right, and if you put in $500,000 into the bank, into an offset account scenario, well, by the fact that you put in $500,000 in the offset account, you pay no interest on your $500,000. Right? I'm sure that's pretty easy to understand. Okay, so then you say, well, how do we put this $500,000 into the bank faster than 30 years? Okay, so this is how the magic happens now. Okay, it's not magic, but I just call it magic because it actually does pay the mortgage off within 5 years. So this particular scenario here, we're showing, actually, I'll go back a little bit just to give you some of the parameters. So in here, we're saying that couple spends $2,500 a month in living expenses, and the net disposable income from salaries is $11,000. So these are the parameters, right? So when we have a person now with an investment property of $500,000, right, and that without giving you the rest of the information on cash flow, because it takes a bit longer, but this is a summary. Summary is if you've got a $500,000 mortgage in your home, and you've got a $500,000 investment debt, property that you purchased, right? The snapshot is that at the end of 5 years, beginning of the 6th year, you'll have $546,000 in your offset account. So therefore, you've neutralized the home loan. 5 years, right? So $11,000 a month disposable income, $2,500 a month living expenses. That wipes out the mortgage in your home, okay, within 5 years. Now, there's two important parts about this, which I'll explain quickly, okay, but to do this, you need to have a bit of time so we can explain to detail how it is. This, like I said, is just using bank products. One is that we use what is called the offset account, the loan, and the other, the bank product, which normally banks don't talk about, right? Or if you talk about it, they kind of forget, or they give you some story that you can have it, and that is to be able to borrow the interest to pay the bank the interest on the investment, right? So that creates a very nice tax deduction for you, but also gets you stressed out from having to pay two mortgages at the same time from salaries and rental income. Okay, so this is how it's all done. Okay, this is how we help clients do it, right? And if you can't do this, then we take the second option, which is just refinance the debt into the product of interest only with the offset account next to it. We should wipe out the debt within 7 years. You don't have to have the investment property if you don't want to, but if you don't invest, you can never be reached by earning money. So you have to invest anyway, because that's the only way that you can reduce your taxes. Now, the money that now how it exchanges hands and how much you end up with it in your bank is a bit different. So now, if you did this, the taxes, you will be working for the tax office only Monday. You'll be working for the banks only on Tuesday, and Wednesday, the whole Wednesday is for living expenses, and most Thursday as well. But then a third of Thursday and most of them on Friday is for savings. So now you have a lot of savings, and then you got the superannuation money. So then, and this is how you end up with quite a bit of money left over in your offset account, because now you're using the bank products that work for you and the tax application that would turbocharge this whole process of creating wealth for you in a very effective manner to put in all the things that are at play for you, not just some of them. At the moment, you're using the system to live. The system is created for the system. It's not created for you. This is using the system to work for you, right? And it won't benefit the banks that much. That's why they don't like this, but it's there. The product's there. All you need to do is to know how to get it, okay? And if you can't get it, you talk to us. We'll get it for you, okay? Now, so these, as I said earlier, these are the most common goals. People want to get rid of their mortgage, want to retire comfortable, be pleasant in the thought that, there's enough money there to buy the things that they want to buy, to go on holidays whenever they want to, right? And to keep a nice, normal life and not to worry about stressing about money. Because most people, in this country end up, a little bit sad at retirement because, the money that they earn from pension is nowhere near as much to do and buy the things that they want to buy. Okay, so how to find a new source? How to find a new source is you need to find the way how this thing works and then start to talk to people. If you don't talk to people, if you don't talk about these ideas, then you're going to be doing what you've always done. So therefore, you're always going to get what you always got, right? So what are the alternatives for you? One is you do this on your own, right? Two is that you continue to get advice from your good intention free advisors, which are your friends, relatives, neighbors, co-workers. The other one is you pay someone to do it, right? And the other one's do nothing. So I think doing nothing and doing it on your own probably won't work too well. Getting your good intention-free advisors, when you need to also find out where they're going, try and find advisors that have got money, that have got wealth. You can get guided by them, right? Or you pay somebody like us to make it work for you. Now, we don't charge very much at all. In fact, there's no consultation fees. So we'll show you the whole program for free. You can go and try to do it on your own. If you think, oh, I can't do this, you help me do it, then we'll charge a small fee, but only when it's all implemented. Okay, so core services for us is we'll show you the strategies. We'll explain to you how you can pay mortgage within 5 years. We'll show you and explain how you can reduce your tax by a minimum of 30 to 50%, retire with 5 properties at least in the next 10 years. And also we'll show you how to double your income. Now, that's a bit of a bonus for you because most people don't understand how this can work. But if you want to know a little bit about this, I'll just give you a bit of a glimpse of it. And as you know, money is a byproduct of value. So when you pay somebody to create great value for you, you're going to be paid a lot of money, right? So perhaps in the work that you do, the value that you get paid is based on what the market says that it's worth, right? But if you can imagine that you can help people achieve great results, you'll get paid a lot of money for it. And this is available for every person that we meet because we show them how to do this, right? So added value for us is for our clients is we provide a strategy for free, right? We explain to them how it works. If we decide to come on board, of course, there's a small fee that we charge. Once everything is organized, we provide a rental support for 10 years. We do the tax returns for clients for 10 years at no cost. We provide the financial planning advice for people at no cost. We provide all the guidance for them in regards to finance as well at no cost. You also get strategies on how to use superannuation to buy property. Okay, so all this you get as part of the package, right, for 10 years. So you get a very, very good value for money when we come, as a client of the company. So the next step is to try and organize a time, right, to see one of our consultants to see if we can help you achieve your objectives. Like I said, all this is provided to all our clients or prospective clients. No cost, no cost for the service, right, to give you all the ideas, and after that it's totally up to you. Okay, so there's nothing we can't achieve if we work together, right? So if you want us to help you do it, right, we would be very happy to welcome you inside our office and in our family here to show you how it's done. If you decide to do it, it's up to you, but you'll definitely learn something of great value by talking to us. Okay, so anyway, lovely to see you once again, and I look forward to see you in the next meeting. On the meantime,